Shut up and sit down. And sit down.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the 360 Sports Show. I am Andrew Pizzelli. He is Christian Lauber, and we are bringing you the biggest stories from the past week in sports. And you can reach us anytime in any of the comment sections of the live streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And as always, by email, the360sportshow@gmail.com. Christian, let's jump right on in and start. The NBA Finals have concluded. The Golden State Warriors are the champions of the NBA, only given a 14% chance to win by the prophets at ESPN, and they win in 6 games. They win 3 games in a row to win this series. Your initial takeaways from the series and the Warriors once again kind of reclaiming their dynastic ways.
Yeah, I would just start with the Celtics not losing more than 1 game in a row, and then losing 3 straight to lose the title. So I don't know what it really came down to. Whether that's fatigue, I think everybody's favorite person to pick on is Jason Tatum. I think in Game 6 you have a case, but I don't think overall he was the biggest issue. He's on the list for sure, but I think fatigue is definitely up there, but I also think the Celtics just kind of imploded, really, when you look at it. In Game 4, they were up like 4 or 5, I think, with like 7 to go. Really, really in the driver's seat there to take a 3-1 series lead, and at that point, it's all but over, right, in most of these series. So they really just imploded in Game 4, and from there, I just feel like they couldn't get their footing again. They turned the ball over too much. Tatum obviously wasn't great down the stretch in these games. He's played a lot of minutes, a lot more than the guys on the other team. And I know people want to say, like, you're just making excuses, but that's just factual. He played a lot more games. He played a lot more minutes than the other guys on the other side. And I think that's part and parcel the Celtics' fault, because I think when I looked at the tail end of the series, one team looked pretty fresh. The other team looked like they were kind of welting away. Now, Jaylen Brown was pretty good, but overall, as a collective, I think the Celtics playing Game 7s when they probably shouldn't be in Game 7s hurt them in this postseason run, and I think it ultimately caught up to them.
Yeah, I think the Warriors, obviously, the talent they have, we know. Steph and Clay and Draymond does what he does.
Steph?
Huh?
You could stop at Steph.
Sure. Best player in the series, MVP of the finals. So you know they have the talent. They were the more consistent team. Now, the Celtics, I think, if you look at the top 8 guys, you'd say they're the better team. And the way the series played out, where so many of the games after the fact, it's like, man, the Celtics blew an opportunity, or the Celtics couldn't finish the deal, and a chance to go up 3-1. That's where the series really turned. And I know people will say, well, it's still 2-2. But you knew what you were facing. You knew you're facing guys with championship pedigree, and now it's 2-2. And 2-2 when you really feel like you should have had 3-1 is a way different than like, hey, you know what? They took 2, we took 2, or we split, but all the games were close, and hey, they battled it out. You kind of blew it. And so now you have to go back to Oracle. And then you just have a putrid Game 5. It is Oracle, but it's San Fran. You have a putrid Game 5, and then it just didn't It didn't have the same vibe of, oh, come home, win Game 6, and hey, we force Game 7, anything can happen. The Warriors, the whole series, were the more consistent team every single night. You got a consistent something out of every single guy they played. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they produced, but their consistency with, and this is kind of part of that championship thing, when the going's good, it's easy. When the going gets tough, how do you respond? Now, the Celtics responded tons and tons and tons of times, but I think to what you said, Christian, they just started to wear down and playing extra games earlier in the playoffs. And here's the thing. The consistency from guys, fatigue plays a part in that. Not having a bench. Not having a bench in this. Now, the Celtics have a bench. Their bench did wonders for them in the earlier series. But in this particular series, no bench. Got nothing out of Grant Williams, out of Peyton Pritchard. Derek White, outside of Game 1, was bad. And nobody else was playable. You had nobody that could really give you solid minutes at the center position. Or power forward. Grant Williams comes in, but he's kind of a tweener. He's kind of like a 3-4 guy.
He was not effective in this series.
And was not effective in this series. So you're asking your starters to basically carry the entire load, which guess what? The Warriors didn't have to do. They won the minutes in the series when Steph was on the bench. That should not be the case.
Especially when he was the best player by far.
So, that's where the Celtics, and we'll talk about their offseason stuff, what they can do to address that. But that was, I think, the consistency because of fatigue with your starters. Because down the stretch, like since February, Ime was playing basically 7 or 8 man rotations. They were playing playoff style basketball the second half of the year to get to where they wanted to be, which was a top seed and have that positioning. You can't do that next year. You have to have, if you return that top 8, great. Though I want to retain all those guys. But unless Aaron Nesmith is going to make a huge jump, you got to get a veteran guy to fill that spot. You need somebody to give you more offense off the bench. And in the regular season, guys 9 through 15 have to at least be people you could put in the game in the middle of the game and not feel like, oh my God, we're going to go to pieces.
Well, here's the problem.
So that's what happened. You wore out and you didn't have enough gas in the tank and you had no help outside of your starters in the finals.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think you also alluded to this. Again, you lose Game 4, right? And then you have to go back to San Francisco. And again, you're down early, you didn't play a good game. But then you're back in it and you're up 4. And there's a little bit of a theme here. Going into the fourth quarter, up 4-5, when you're kind of like sitting there like kind of rolling, and then you jack up 3 threes, turn the ball over twice, and you just wilt it again. And then at that point, it was over. I mean, after going down 3-2, it's over. In terms of the bench, one of the biggest things they need to address is, and again, you mentioned it, but it's Rob Williams needs some help behind him. I don't know what that looks like, but that has to be a huge need, because relying on Rob Williams at this stage of his career, where we've seen him get injured a couple times, and credit to him, he played through some pain here, obviously, and he played pretty well. I think if he's healthy, he'd probably win the series. I just think he's that big of a factor on both ends. But not having Tice come in the regular season, Tice is fine. Through the latter stages of the season, he was absolutely fine. He can come in and give you some minutes. In the finals, I think you need a little bit more. I was gonna say, does
it do you any good if a guy's unplayable in the finals?
No, and I think we saw when he came in, he was a minus player. I mean, I think that's just factual. And again, Derek White was your main acquisition at the deadline. To be a bench guy, would you rather have him or Josh Richardson in this series? I think it's Richardson. But again, Derek White is very good in Game 1, decent in Game 2 and 3, and then he fell off a cliff and he was not good. But Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard pretty much no-showed the entire series. So those guys hurt you, because when you look across the table there, Otto Porter and Kev Von Looney both came off the bench and started. So one of those guys is a bench piece, pretty good player. Andre Iguodala gave you something in a couple of those games, not really that much, but still a guy you'd like to have on your championship caliber team. And then you have a guy like Jordan Poole who can just come in, and although he wasn't that great in this series. He can
Streaky.
come in and score. He can score 13 points in 2 minutes and set you on your way. One thing that is kind of annoying me though is how much gloating and stuff Draymond and Klay Thompson are doing after the fact. I think they were good in maybe like 2 of these games. Outside of that, it's Steph Curry's show. So I think it's just pretty funny that they're like talking all this trash, and they have all these receipts, which, for guys that don't really pay attention to the media and social media, oof, man, these NBA players have a lot of receipts, huh?
Yeah. Hey, but they get to talk. They won.
Yeah.
So they get to talk, and you knew
they won again.
You knew they were going to talk.
I just think like Draymond was not. He was good on the defensive end, but outside of that, he gave you pretty much nothing. I think Thompson is a pretty good player, and he's obviously coming off a huge injury. But I think Steph Curry is just. It might just be his time. Not that it wasn't before, but he's kind of a premier guy in the league when he has help around him. I mean, he's ridiculous. He can give you 33 easy on a night.
Does this now his 4th title? Where do you rank Steph Curry now? Like, there's this whole week, a lot of the comparisons to LeBron, and trying to compare their resumes. LeBron's won 4, Steph's won 4. They've each got, some over the other. Steph has 3 over LeBron. But then LeBron has that 1, which is the, 3-1 comeback. That's just thinking about it in terms of finals and head-to-head matchups, but how do you rank their careers? And obviously it's hard to no one's legacy. No one's legacy is written in stone yet. But how do you take that conversation and those sorts of comparisons and wanting to put Steph ahead of LeBron in terms of all-time conversation?
Yeah, I wouldn't go there yet. I think LeBron is what he is, and I think a lot of people have gripes with LeBron James and the losing that he has had in the finals and playoffs and everything you want to say. But I'm definitely taking peak LeBron over peak Curry. And that's not to say Steph is a terrible, bad player. He's not even close. He's in the conversation in terms of like all-timers. I mean, there's no question about that. But I'm not going LeBron yet. I think LeBron, even though I do put a premium on championships, I do think LeBron just overall is just an incredible talent. I think he does. I don't want to say he does more than Steph, but he does more. He does things on the defensive end. He makes clutch plays in the playoffs. Chase down blocks, things like that. Not that Steph doesn't, but again, I think weighing it just to like, oh, they're 4-4 and Curry is now better. I'm not there yet.
If AI created like the ideal basketball player, it would be peak LeBron, like a guy that's 6'9" that can do everything on either end of the floor. Like,
yeah, and I think for me personally, I'm just putting LeBron a step above. I don't think he's like astronomically in terms of like championships. He's right there, right? Curry is right there, but in terms of player to player, in my eyes, I think LeBron James is still just. I mean, he's probably still top 2-3 best players in the world. Yeah.
Nick has a comment in the comment section about Celtics offseason stuff, which we will get to here shortly. A couple of more points to finish up here on the finals and the conclusion of the NBA season. So that's the discussion around Curry and LeBron, and I agree with you. I think LeBron is still above Curry. Now, if Curry goes and gets 5, now you start putting him in all-time point guard status, and you got Magic Johnson, and we start having those sorts of conversations. But he's given himself a chance here because he still is going to have a window here with this team to win at least 1 or 2 more, maybe.
I do think there is a case to be made for the fact that Curry has a lot more around him than LeBron did, or before the Miami days, when LeBron was beating the Celtics early in his career and doing things like that. I think Curry has had a pretty good cast around him throughout his whole tenure here.
Yeah. Somebody who there needs to be some perspective on. There's a lot of hate being thrown at Jason Tatum. You mentioned it. And I almost don't even want to acknowledge it because I think it's ridiculous. But I'll say a bit of this. People want to say, oh, this was year 5 for him. he shouldn't be struggling in the finals. He shouldn't, he never had a clutch performance. There was no, like Game 6 Milwaukee, that's like a signature moment in his career now. Facing elimination, you drop 46 points. There was no, he had 13 assists in Game 1, and that might honestly kind of just be the shining moment of the series for him. A night where he couldn't buy a shot and made a bunch of plays. Never really had a big game in the finals. That's because of the minutes the dude played. That comes back to what I said before about needing some help. You can't have Jason Tatum now after a deep run. Same with Jaylen Brown. He played like the most minutes in the NBA this year. That's not going to be sustainable if you want to get back to the finals. And it's the dude's first finals. And he didn't play bad. Like, numbers-wise, you're looking at, like, his averages, you're like, that's not terrible.
Turnovers.
The turnovers are bad, but we all kind of understand where those were coming from. But at the end, there was just a lot of forcing, and they kind of had no answers because all they had was their starters, and that was it. And those guys were wearing down. But people say, oh, look at what, like, Jordan in year 2 was dropping 60 points on the Celtics and, like, already knocking on the door. The average, the odyssey of the NBA superstar. Very few guys come in their rookie year or second year and just win a title as the best player. It really doesn't. It doesn't happen early in their careers. Even got like Dwayne Wade won a title with Shaq still kind of being with as his running mate. Kobe won with Shaq. Jordan didn't win right away. It took him a long time to get there. I mean, I don't think he made the finals. He was 27. Didn't win, or 28 may have been when he won his first championship.
Nobody wins in the league at the age of 24.
You have to go through the fire. And to being a star, being a superstar, this is the weight now that you have to carry. Jason Tatum, you got to a conference final Game 7 of your rookie year. That set the bar. Like, the only place to improve from that was make the finals. Didn't do that in year 2. Did it in year 3, and you kind of blew a series versus Miami. Year 4 kind of sucked as a team, and year 5 you made the finals. And he has gotten this year, if you just look at him as a player, tremendous growth in all areas. And so I think that the people who are hating on him forget how young he really is.
Well, it is a lot of trolls. So
it is a lot of trolls, but you know what? Every now and again, you have to beat the trolls back. You can't just let them. You can't just let them have their way. Well, he is 24, gonna be 25, and
this is his 23-year-old season, though.
Exactly, and you know what? This is like he's still on track for all these guys. He's accomplished the same, if not more, than so many of these guys did early in their careers. The problem is you play in Boston where it's championship or bust for not just the Celtics organization, but recent history, all the organizations as a city. And you had success. It's not like, flamed out in the first round, but you got there, made an all-star game, and won a round. There was no progression. It was like, boom, conference finals. And now you're kind of going through these ups and downs and these bumps in the road. I mean, all the greats had to get close and lose, or get to the finals and lose. Isaiah Thomas, the Isaiah Thomas had that happen. Jordan just could never get past the Pistons or the Celtics. It's just that the narrative will come here for Tatum now, and it already has. Is he the guy? Is he the number one guy? And in 10 years, we look back, and hopefully this is and I took that personally moment for Jason Tatum. And they've gone on and taken these lessons to heart. Because you kind of have to have the heartbreak in the finals for all of it to kind of really sink in. No more, we basically beat LeBron. We got to Game 7 of the final, blah, blah, blah. No, you were there. You had it in your hands, and another team took it from you.
Okay, but here, this is the point, is I'll say it in a fewer amount of words, but the young guys in the NBA typically do not reach the pinnacle of an NBA championship until they are 26, 27 years old. Look at Giannis last year. Now, a lot of things have to go your way, too. But if you're asking me, if you're putting Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum up against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, I'm telling you, Steph and Clay have been here, done that. They probably should be a favorite in this series. Now, for whatever reason, the bettors and everything. But that aside, I mean, it's like he's 24, just turned 24, and Brown is 25. Now, obviously, the window is not open forever because you don't know if these guys are going to stick around here long enough. But that being said, they put it together this year. They should be able to put a couple seasons here together in terms of deep playoff runs. Hopefully, they'll have some more help because I think you got the coach in place. And these two guys have made strides, both Jason and Jalen. And specifically on Tatum is he's going to be going into his 24th season, 24-year-old season, turning 25. Guys are still not really there until 26, 27. Usually that, second big contract in the league. So I think the gripe on Tatum that, he's not a number one, he can't carry a team to a final. People are taking this too far to the point where, like, we've seen Steph Curry and Klay Thompson win titles before. So I don't know where this changed that, the Celtics are so dominant, they're gonna take this easy. Should be easy in 6 or 7. The reason I didn't take the Celtics in this series specifically, at least part of it, is because guys that are 23 don't win in the NBA. That is just factual. Typically, they don't win in the NBA. If the Celtics were fully loaded, fully healthy, maybe they are, one step closer and they close the door there in Game 4. But overall, Tatum and Brown, the growth that they had this year should continue to move in the right direction and carry them. Whether they get back to the final and win one, who knows? But I think you have to have more help. Look at the offseason, and then those two guys should be primed and ready for a couple of really, really good years.
So that's what I wanted to segue to here is, before we talk about options for the Celtics in terms of players and what they need to really address, do I feel more optimistic now? I mean, the wake of that, like losing those 3 games in a row, it's like, man, what the heck happened? Then you realize how kind of remarkable of a turnaround it was. Not often do teams make, a condensing trade. They condensed their team. They cast off parts. Usually teams do that. It's you hope to build something and then you add to it in the offseason, and then that's the team that then goes to the finals the next year. The Celtics made the finals while cutting players and cutting salary. Kind of remarkable. But either way, you got there, you lost. Is this a scarring moment? And they kind of can. It's just now it's another mental hurdle for them, and they might not ever get over it. Or does this group use this as I took that personally, and they are going to get there, not take it for granted, value possessions, value the ball, know what it takes to be a champion, and open a long window, which could be a championship window pretty wide for Jalen and Jason. Which of those do you think is more likely right now, or do you feel is more likely?
God, I have no idea. I would say this is like too much. I would say they're more.
You're just resisting saying what's more likely, that they suck it. They're gonna blow it. They have no weak mentally.
There's way too many factors to decide whether they're gonna just absolutely never get back to this.
What's your gut tell you though? I mean, how do you feel about it? I felt pretty bad as soon as it ended. Like, man, like that it would be scarring, that like you needed to win it so that you didn't have the pain of losing it. But in a way, I think the pain of losing it might finally get these guys to buy in, because it's almost like they skated through that whole playoffs really never paying for their own mistakes because they kept finding ways to win because they were that good. And small mistakes really cost you big time versus the Warriors. And now you've learned that lesson the hard way. So I think when they get back, hopefully they get back, there's not going to be any more looking like, oh, look, the NBA Finals logo. This is pretty cool. We're in the finals. No starry-eyed. It's all business, I think. So I feel better about it now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those two guys are still super young and they should be back in this position. Just going straight off the top, I don't think this is going to be like, they absolutely blew it and this is it. It's not like they went up against who knows who was a worse team in the. It's not like they were up against the Nuggets and lost. They're up a team that's won and been there God, how many times in the last like 6 to 8 years? So overall, yeah, they should be back in the position that they were in, and hopefully they'll kind of step on the throat of the opposition and actually take a hold of a series like that instead of turning it over and making those small mistakes.
So kind of quickly, we're obviously going to have a lot to discuss on this topic, but we'll keep this one short and just kind of give a few points. It's coming quick here. The NBA offseason is already underway. There's already been trades that are announced. Christian Wood to the Dallas Mavericks, and you're going to have a lot more stuff coming out and leaking out that's agreed upon in principle, with the draft coming up quickly and free agency right around the corner as well. What do the Celtics need to do? We kind of touched on it. We're not going to name players right now because it's just too much to dive into that right now. But what do they need? I have said they need a big to play behind Rob Williams and give me a veteran scorer. I don't care if he's a three-point shooter. I don't care if he's a guy that can, like Evan Turner, just mid-range king and handle the ball. Give me somebody that can get you offense off the bench.
I'm hoping more than a little. I'm hoping a little more than Evan Turner. I'll be honest. But I would say, they for sure need a big. Someone like, I don't know, whatever. Miles Turner intrigues me still after all this time. A guy like that, that can give you 3-point shooting, paint presence, a backup for Rob, a guy that can give you serious minutes if Rob were to be out for a period of time, nursing whatever his knee. I'm sure it's still going to be probably a bit of an issue going into next year, just based on how much he played here. So you definitely need a guy behind him. That is immediately where I go. And then I think you need a 3-point shooter. Someone of JJ Redick caliber, someone that's going to come in and be able to just hit a few threes. Now, Aaron Nesmith was supposed to be that guy, I was told, but I was lied to. So hopefully
we were all lied to, Christian.
Yeah. Hopefully you can get, and maybe he will make an impact next year. Who knows? But
that would be found money.
Sure. Or you sell him off to get an actual 3-point shooter. Sure. But you need a some type of guy that can come in. I'm not saying Jordan Poole, but some guy like that that can just come give you points. You need scoring off the bench. I think Pritchard did some of that, but he didn't do it consistently enough to where I would say, yeah, put Pritchard in there for 22 minutes. Give me a bench guy that gives you 15 to 22 minutes a night that can just shoot, i.e. JJ Redick, someone like that.
Yeah.
I'm all in for that in a big. And if you can get maybe one or two guys like that and accompany that with what you have in Derek White, Pritchard, Grant Williams, and get another piece there, I think you need more bench help. And that was more apparent than ever in this finals. So I go big immediately. That's my number one need. Hopefully a big that can shoot, because I think to balance out Rob, he doesn't really shoot threes. He doesn't really shoot a mid-range game. He can. But to have that guy at the rim on offense and defense, and then if you have a backup that can kind of spread the floor, have a paint presence at the same time, I'm all in for that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's pretty easy. And Brad Stevens today, had a press conference, basically echoed what we've said. He said he thought that they needed more on the bench, more from their bench. Short term, they want to address that, but long term believe that there's some options there. Hey, if Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard continue to grow, they've made strides. If Aaron Nesmith can actually give you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, can be a reliable 3-point shooter, play some hustle defense, and just give you 10 minutes, that's great. But as I say, I don't think that's coming next year. Nothing indicates that right now. Were you going to hold your breath until I said that it wasn't going to happen?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think Nesmith could give you a little something, but
I'd like to keep him to see if he develops. But if they have to trade him to get that vet, like you said, I'm fine.
Are you sure? This was your guy. This is your guy. You stapled yourself to this
guy. Yeah, and
guy.
James Young was my guy too. So it is what it is.
You're always wrong, is what you're saying.
Probably. 8 times out of 10.
Want to get to this Bradley Beal question?
Yes. So, serious question. Do you think, this is from Nick, do you think we should go after Bradley Beal on this team? My personal vote is no, because I think we have to get rid of Al or Smart. I don't know, just a thought. It is going to be interesting. I don't think Marcus Smart is going anywhere. Al Horford's interesting because they got him to basically be the salary filler. And then he outperformed their expectations and then was a beast and a leader. And so now I feel like they're in a weird spot where they kind of just, they need to bring him back for his presence and everything else, like his importance to the team. But it does kind of trip up, I think, maybe what had been their plans to use his contract. Like, hey, Al will be a good guy. Maybe we get to the second round, we develop these young guys, and we can flip him to go get Miles Turner,
It depends on the piece that's coming here.
That's what I'm saying. Somebody else, right? But obviously, if Kevin Durant wanted to come here and you flip Al Horford for Kevin Durant, I think you do that.
Start the rumor.
I think you do that. But
Al Horford, Kevin Durant. Do you do it?
Yes, I do it from a basketball sense. I don't necessarily know how I feel about it as a fan. Would we win a title? Yeah. Would I feel good about it? I don't know. I'd feel pretty dirty. Same goes to Bradley Beal. I think, I don't know if I want to trade Al Horford for Bradley Beal. We proved we can't. Last year, at the exact same time on this show, I said you don't need another superstar. You've got Jason and you've got Jalen, and as long as
you did because you lost, right?
No, as long as everybody else buys in, I think you have enough. You can't,
not.
Oh yeah, another superstar would have obviously, helped. Like put LeBron on the team.
We only won a title. Oh my god, that's not fun.
Okay, then Christian, how come in your list of needs you didn't say another superstar like you've said in the past? Now you're saying what I've said before, which is give me a backup. Your needs were backup center and a bench scorer, not we're gonna get another guy in here to be with Jalen and Jason.
I said 3-point shooter, not scorer.
Fine. Even more specific. I was leaving you benefit of the doubt. We'll get really specific. A backup center and a 3-point bench shooter. That's it. That is not, we need to get Kevin Durant or John Wall or Damian Lillard.
Those things.
I'm just naming off all these other big names.
I haven't even answered the question yet, and you're just answering it for me, I guess.
Because you're going there. I can tell you're going there. Go ahead. I'm a no. Hard no. Pass on Brad Beal. Don't need it.
I think if you think Al Horford and or Marcus Smart is going to get you Bradley Beal, you're out of your mind. I mean, it's going to take much more than that. There's absolutely no way they trade Bradley Beal for on either side. I don't think. I don't know. Like, do you?
Oh, it's more. It has to be more than a straight up.
Yeah, and I don't think it's Al or Smart. I think it's Al and Smart. And then a bunch of picks. If you're not trading Jalen and Jason, that's going to be the package. However, I don't think Bradley Beal is necessarily the best fit because of Jaylen Brown playing similar positions. Unless you're trying to get Bradley Beal here because you think Jason Tatum's going to sign here for the next 10 years, if he is here, then I guess I'd be aboard just because I want Jason Tatum here because I do think he's probably going to be a top 5 player for the next 10 years. But in terms of a fit on this team, no, I think if Rob Williams is fully healthy, I think you probably win a championship. I don't want to put that all, but I think Rob is a huge key. And or if you can get someone that can give you minutes behind him. So I don't think you necessarily, don't get me wrong, I love Bradley Beal. But at this stage, I don't think, if it went sideways again, then absolutely, I'd be all for Bradley Beal. But the two of them kind of figured out how to play together. And I think if you get any semblance of a game from Tatum and a healthy Rob Williams, I think you're right there again. So that's why I'm not going that far. I don't think you need a Bradley Beal to put you over the top or a Kevin Durant. Would it put you over the top? Probably.
Yeah.
But you'd have to give up a lot. It'd be a lot of first-round picks in there. I don't know. I'm just not going that far at this stage. I think you can do some other things with Smart. Who knows if he's here? I don't know. I'm still not fully in on that.
Well, here's the thing too. So let's say you trade it's just Marcus Smart and other assorted crap to make salaries work and picks. Who's your point guard? Is Jason Tatum your point guard now?
Be Derek White.
All right, so it's Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum, and Rob Williams. That's your starting five?
Probably.
That's mighty small.
Is it?
I think it is.
I think you're bigger than a lot of teams at that lineup. I'll be honest.
Bradley Beal's smaller than you think. Now, because now you got Jaylen playing the 3, and Tatum for his size, he's not strong enough to play the 4.
Yeah, you might be right about that, but
and
he's and height does not.
He's a guy who looked like he played more aggressively in the second half of the year, but I don't know. He looked smaller. I think that dude definitely lost weight. I mean, it's hard to keep muscle weight on during a season. He looked like he got thinner as the year went on.
Ooh.
Tatum.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't know. We don't need to spend a lot of time debating that. I have no empirical data. It was just
he had I think he had approximately 16-inch arms before the season, and now he has about 16.3.
Goodness. Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna have to keep. I mean, this is one of these things. It's like there's gonna be a day, because when is the NBA draft? The NBA draft is Thursday. Holy crap!
Is it really Thursday?
It is Thursday. Should we do a draft? Should we do a draft show, Christian, and just be like,
no?
I feel like who even know? I mean, here's the thing about the Celtics making the finals. I have no idea I can't even remember March Madness. I don't know who's at the top of the draft board.
I'm just intrigued because I'm interested to see if Brad Stevens is going to be any different than Danny Ainge with these picks.
What picks do they even have this year?
Who the hell knows?
Because I think they traded their pick.
Many.
They traded their pick to get rid of Kemba. So let's see here. The Celtics' first pick.
Here's a name for you.
53. They don't have a pick until the 53rd spot in the second round. So I don't know. I mean, unless they're making trades.
Right in your wheelhouse. That's right in your wheelhouse for really good.
Unless they're making trades just, for between teams, because that's when you can start really trading players and stuff. I don't see any. The Celtics are not going to be trading anything to try and get up into this draft. No, they're not going to want another young player. I think everything we've heard is veterans. Give us veterans.
They're not trading to go up in the draft or anything dumb like that. They're going to be trading maybe that pick for another player. I could see that.
Yeah.
But again, I think they know what they need. I don't think there's any debate on what they need. They have guys, Peyton Pritchard, Grant Williams, Derek White. Those guys are all young, coming off the bench. You don't need another, Peyton Pritchard. You don't need that right now. You need another, fortified player in the league. You don't need end of the bench guys like Carson Edwards and those guys.
Yeah. Agree.
Here's a name for you, though. That's another rumor. Just like we can do like 30 seconds on this. Malcolm Brogdon. Do you have any interest in Malcolm Brogdon?
So this is going to be the interesting part with this Celtics offseason is I do believe there will be veteran players available who want in. That you could either get on cheaper contracts, that you could get on the buyout market this year that will take nothing. Obviously, if you're trading for players, you have to take their contracts. Brogdon's an interesting one. I mean, if you're telling me he's your backup point guard and he can play the point and you let Derek White kind of be a two guard, kind of roam around and just do everything. I like that. I like Brogdon. I've always liked Brogdon's game. He's tough. He's aggressive. He has a bit of a shot. I think in a bench role, I think he'd be great. Now, I don't know. Now, what's the price tag? Is he under contract right now? Is he a free agent?
Yeah, he's under contract.
So let's see. Malcolm Brogdon.
Would you trade Marcus Smart and something else for Miles Turner and Malcolm Brogdon?
Smart for Turner and Brogdon.
There's obviously something else on the Celtics side, but need to say Neesmith. Someone.
Man, that dude's making $22 million.
Yeah, he's making a lot of money.
I don't think so. I mean, this is where I mean we could get lost in this. Like, I don't know who. Let's see.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to go too far down the road.
Too far. I mean, let's just peruse. We'll do quickly here. Available free agents. Do we want to look at all guys? Or do we want to just look at like point guards, shooting guards, or should we just look at everybody?
Let's not do this right now. How about that? I could do 2 hours on this. I don't think I have time for this.
You don't have time. You don't want to get sucked down the rabbit hole. I'll tell you, the only guy, the Celtics should be looking for guys in that 12.
Give me power forwards and centers real quick. How about that?
Okay, let's see.
Because I want to engage
forwards. Okay, so these are all going to be guys in the South. I say $15 million and cheaper is what like this is what I'd expect them to be paying to get a bench piece, something like that. Here's your forwards. I'll give you a top list of availables. Andre Iguodala, no. Thaddeus Young, no. Joe Ingles, possible. Taurean Prince, no. T.J. Warren, now that guy might actually just get a max contract somewhere from someone stupid. So,
oh gosh.
Montrezl Harrell, no. Derek Jones Jr., Kyle Anderson, no. Marvin Bagley III, no. PJ Tucker,
I would take PJ Tucker
on to be a minimum like to be the third like forward, like doesn't play, but then in a playoff game gives you like 10 minutes out of nowhere and is effective.
He's annoying on defense and he shoots 1-3 a game. I'll take it.
Yeah. Matthew Murphy, Wendell Carter Jr. That's a guy. Here we go. Jalen Smith, Kevon Looney, Kevin Knox, Bobby Portis. I would love me some Bobby Portis. I like Bobby Portis a lot. It says that he has a player option.
I think did he not already?
Did he opt in? Is Spotrac behind here?
Maybe not.
Bobby.
I thought I heard that maybe he is going to opt in. I don't know. I would take Bobby Portis on the team though, 100%.
Can't find. It looks like he's expected to, but he hasn't yet.
Okay.
I mean, now we're kind of getting into the further down.
No,
Miles Bridges, blah blah blah. But let me see true centers. Nurkic, DeAndre Ayton, Serge Ibaka, Thomas Bryant, Zubats, Mohamed Bamba, some Mo Bamba. I would take Mo Bamba to be the backup.
Mo Bamba. They got rid of him.
No, we had Bol Bol.
Oh yeah, Bobo. Yeah.
But I'll take. I like Mo Bamba. I would love Mo Bamba to be backup. He's
got to be an RFA, isn't he?
No. Oh yes, RFA. Yep, he's RFA. JaVale McGee, Robin Lopez, Gorgie Jang, Dwight Howard. And then
I don't like any of these names. You're gonna have to go by the way of trade, I believe.
DeMarcus Cousins.
I'm still infatuated with
Greg Monroe.
I think Miles Turner would fit in great here.
I think he would too. I mean, again, so this is like where we could. I
wanted Miles Turner since Gordon Hayward was traded. I wanted Gordon Hayward, but if you're not gonna have Gordon Hayward, you should have traded him to the Pacers, sign and trade whatever for Miles.
We're going to do hot and not here in a second. I did just want to say, while we're talking about NBA and drafts and picks, and the story about Caleb Swanigan is just so sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We haven't heard anything about what happened to him, but he was a guy whose story was awesome, was an overweight kid in high school and then lost a bunch of weight, and obviously went through a lot of stuff in his life that led to him turning to, drugs or eating, just overeating out of, it's for some people it's a mental thing. And news, was it today or last night, that he passed away? Obviously so young, but clearly, like, was it last year or earlier this spring, somebody tweeted out a picture like, how do you go from this to this? And he was an NBA player 1 month, and then he's out of the league and he's hugely overweight. And Dame Lillard came to his defense saying, "You don't know what's going on in a man's mind," and all this stuff. And just sad, because that was somebody that, I love. Their story was awesome and had a lot of talent. And you never know what's going on with somebody. We don't know what happened. If this was something health related or God forbid, something worse. Self-inflicted. Yeah. But just sad, terrible story. This is usually the time of year you hear all the success stories of guys winning titles and getting their shot and getting to the league, and it's a lot of happy things. So he was one of those guys who had one of those stories, and it's crazy to me to think that that his story's over, which is unfortunate and sad. So, yeah, that was sad. Let's do hot and not.
It's time for hot.
Hot. You want to talk about hot? Hot. Please stop doing that.
Doing what?
Continue. Go ahead.
And not.
God, is he a moron? Oh my God, he doesn't shut up.
It's so stupid.
Stupid decisions.
Dum-dums. The naughtiest knot of the year.
Oof. Suck fest. Suck sauce.
On the 360 Sports Show.
All right, Christian. Hot and not, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, pluses, minuses. Lead us off here with what was hot this week for you.
I got a couple. I'm delayed on one that I meant to do like 3 weeks ago. Whatever. I am gonna go. I'll start with the older delayed brain delay on my own accord. Patrice Bergeron won his 5th Selke. History being made. Going right along with there were some. I don't know. The NHL awards are so weird. They came out with more today, more results. Whatever. Patrice Bergeron, 5th Celtic. I wonder if that trophy is going to be named the Bergeron pretty soon. He probably should have won 6 times, 7 times. If he hadn't won so many times before, the 4 times, he probably would have won more, but they kind of, give it to other guys, which is fine. But, yeah, Patrice Bergeron to start. And then with the news that Rob Gronkowski is, I say, 90% retiring. I'm still not there yet. I'm waiting for something else. I'm going Rob Gronkowski. I know a lot of people he did become kind of a diva down the stretch here in New England, but 4 Super Bowls, just an all-timer. Over 9,000 yards, 92 touchdowns for a tight end. Just ridiculous, and how instrumental he was as a player for New England and Tampa in their Super Bowl runs. Guy's an all-timer. Whether you like him or not, his goofy personality, his divaness down the stretch about, I can't have fun here and all that. He probably is the best tight end of all time, at least in my eyes. So, Robbie Gronk.
I got to agree. I was going to go Gronk too. Greatest tight end to ever play the game. There's a lot of guys that, before he won championships, there's a lot of the comparisons to guys like Mark Bavaro, these guys who could, do both. They were great. That's the thing. There's guys, Tony Gonzalez was one of these guys. He's the greatest tight end. More receiver, really, than anything else. Gronk is Hall of Fame as a blocker and as a pass catcher, and then with the ball in his hands as a playmaker. As a guy that big and that strong, there's really been nobody quite like him to have the success that he had. And frankly, the longevity he did end up having. Basically an 11-year career. A lot of those guys with that big frame do just kind of burn out quick because they take so much punishment, which he did. He took plenty. Won championships. So, in my book, best tight end to ever play. Don't give me Travis Kelce. Get out of here.
Now, this is why I say this loosely, because this is a report that from, I think, Adam Schefter. If this is real, there is a blue check mark next to it, so I don't want to get dragged down through the mud for this. But Drew Rosenhaus, who is Rob Gronkowski's agent, said that Gronk could still come out of retirement if Tom Brady calls him during the season. So, I don't know. I'm not there yet with this.
Yeah, stranger things have already happened.
Volume 2 coming soon.
Yes, true. All right, Christian. The knots.
Oh, good old friend. He's back again, once again. Mr. Kyrie Irving is in the news again because he is apparently at a impasse with the Brooklyn Nets. This guy just can't get out of his own way. He wanted Durant. He wanted the Nets. They go there to team up. He said, we got two max slots. And now he's probably going to end up in LA, which is not the worst place to end up. But I just think it's hilarious. He was like, he wanted his own thing. So he left LeBron James to come full circle to go back to LeBron James.
He could go to the Clippers, though. He doesn't have to go to LeBron.
Mm.
I think this whole thing that he's at an impasse. What, to show up to work?
No, you know what the problem is? He wants to be an owner.
Or
the GM or whatever.
What I don't get, what I think must be funny is like they must have sat down with him and said, Kyrie, here's what we're thinking. We want you to play like 90. Okay, no, 85. How about 85? 85% of the games this year. And if you need to take time now and again, like that's okay. This is how it's going to go, blah, blah, blah. This is going to be the deal. And he probably was just like, how dare you? You cannot put constraints on me. My light cannot be controlled by your mortal laws. Like, what do you mean impasse? You're getting paid almost what's his contract? He's got to be making almost 40 mil, right? I got to imagine. He is getting paid $36 million. He got 35 last year. He's going to get $36 million. What is the impasse? You want another extension? You want a long-term contract that isn't just team option? Then show up. Then come play. There's nothing wrong with what Kyrie has wanted to do, and I don't care about what's bothering him and like trying to sort it out because clearly the dude's tortured by stuff. Whatever. You still have a job to do. You signed a contract. You have to show up and play. And if you don't, nobody is holding your feet to the fire. Leave. Don't play basketball. You want to be an NBA player? You have to show up and play. Like, impasse. For $36 million, you're at an impasse. So, no shock. I mean, and he's going to go somewhere else and say the same, things, and the same stuff's going to continue to happen, but I don't know who's going to take him. Who's going to take that contract and who's going to want him? When he shows up and plays, he's unbelievable. He's one of the best players in the world. And for a guy his size to be that unstoppable, it's incredible. But you just don't know whether he's going to be there from day to day or year to year. I thought Brooklyn was home. I'm home. I'd never want to leave. And now you want out.
This is what I say, though, about Kyrie all the time. I don't think he's a bad guy.
No.
Right? But he just can't get out of his own way. He is a otherworldly talent in terms of on the basketball court. You strictly put him in an arena for millions, thousands of people watching. He's a great entertainer in terms of a basketball player. But outside of that, I just have no time for it just because I don't think they're like I said, it's just frustrating because he can't get out of his own way. He had an opportunity here as well as in Brooklyn to really get like a number of teams to that next level, and he just kind of like wilted, or who knows? He just can't get out of his own way.
Yeah, and so here's the rumors. Kyrie for Westbrook straight up. Who says no? Says Nick in the comment section. I think that would be hysterical on so many levels because you put Kyrie, like you said, full circle back to daddy. Come home, Kai. Little Kai, come home. That would be great. But then you also have Westbrook going back to Durant, who Durant's the one who left him, and left him in okay. Like, the plot lines of all of that would be phenomenal. And I don't think either would work. But it really, it also illustrates, too, the Nets sold their soul and got nothing. They had a good young team, and
I don't think it was for Kyrie though.
But you used money to bring in Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and you know what? Even if Kyrie decided to flake out on you, you still had Kevin Durant, and you had Karis LeVert, and you had Spencer Dinwiddie, and
that's the James Harden decision though.
And that's what I'm saying is, so you then sold your soul to have Kyrie, Harden, and Durant in a 2-year window, and now it's gone, and you don't have any of those young guys as a fallback. To fall back on. You got rid of Kenny Atkinson too. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's the Nets now may be the Cleveland Browns of the NBA for like continuing to like make these moves to get to quasi contender status and then finding their own ways to.
They had it made though. I'll tell you what. They did it. They did a fine job of getting back there after that Garnett Pierce debacle, where you kind of traded away your future to get Kyrie and Kevin Durant in there, and then you just kind of sell it all away for a James Harden who looked out of shape, was not engaged, and then ultimately, we know what happened with the COVID situation and the vaccinations and all that stuff with Kyrie, and it just fell apart. But inviting James Harden into that situation was a mistake from the beginning.
Yeah.
There was a chance that it could work and you would just absolutely blow everybody off the floor. But this was the other side, and I think this was more likely than the other thing. And to trade away all those pieces just for James Harden and then get Ben Simmons, screwed it.
You did. Matt in the comment section, Matt Murphy, also says that's a trade from hell. I'm not sure which one he's talking about, but they kind of all are trades from hell.
James Harden, I think.
Probably the Harden and Kyrie one. Where's Game of Zones when you need it? Yes. Game of Zones right now would be fantastic. So yeah, that's a lot of time on the knot of Kyrie Irving, but it deserved it. My knot, I was torn between two, and then more things came out, and so I'm just going to talk about it now. The NFLPA, there's a lot of discussion from the NFL and the Players Association. There's expected to be a suspension here for Deshaun Watson. And that was before the news today that 20 of the 24 civil cases against him have been settled. Deshaun, what happened to I'm not settling? What happened to I want the truth to come out? I want to clear my name and I want to do it in court. I guess you'd rather just pay people and shut them up and make it go away. It's what it looks like. He's 5 days ago saying, no, all I care about is proving that I'm innocent and clearing my name and doing it in court. His exact words, to prove my innocence in court. NFL says, yeah, I think in all likelihood we're going to have to suspend him this year. Oh, settle. Oh, man. I think he's still going to get suspended. He is still probably going to get suspended. The league's going to try and fight it, but I think the dude's still going to get suspended. And again, we talk about the Nets screwing things up and being the Cleveland Browns. This is why they're the Cleveland Browns. Things like this.
I just don't know how you avoid suspension. That's all I'll say. It makes no sense if you avoid suspension at this stage. Now, granted, he did miss a year, which the NFL will ultimately say, well, he missed a year, so that was part of the suspension. But that's not really how it works, NFL, but they're going to sell you that.
Maybe. I got to imagine he's going to get something.
He'll probably get like 8 games, and then, again, they're going to sell you that he missed 16.
And the PA is trying to frame, here's examples of things that happened to owners and how come owners didn't get. The NFL's not going to buy that. As much as the PA wants to try and like flip this around and create owner accountability, which I think should exist, Dan Snyder, it's the NFL's not going to buy that argument, and so I'd say there's the dude probably would be suspended a year, some sort of indefinite suspension. But I think more than likely they're going to suspend him 8 games. It'll get like knocked down to 6, and that's what'll happen. If I had to guess,
and they're going to say that he was suspended a year.
Huh?
I guarantee you they'll say he was suspended a year.
Oh, they'll just kind of say like, time served.
Yeah,
that would be that.
That would be NFL. I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
We've been here before.
Is this a broken record? Nope. So that was my not. I do want to talk. One of the people who I kind of had on my not. I can't really make it a not. It's more like it's an ugh. My ugh of the week is Will Zalatoris at the U.S. Open. Again, just another crushing last-minute defeat. Last year, 2 Masters ago, he was there at the end. And I was like, oh, this young kid, this kid could be a phenom. He hits the ball so well, and he's going to be back. And then has been like knocking on the door at some of these major tournaments and like has to go to a playoff and loses. All he has to do is sink a putt. And it's one thing to miss a putt, but he literally, rims out from 14 feet, misses by, a millimeter from forcing a playoff and losing the Open. I feel bad for him. And you just wonder, like, how much, like, does that... It's in a game like golf where, like, putting and the stress and the mental side of the game plays so much of a factor. Is all of this just going to get to him and just be too much? Which would be a shame because I think the kid's really good.
Yeah, I mean, to start... To come where he came from, which was Happy Gilmore's caddy, to this point in the PGA Tour, and then lose the way he did, I mean, it's like coming full circle.
Yeah. I just hope that he cannot have that become the trend. Because now it's a storyline. One happens once. Okay. Happens once. It's like, that's a shame. Happens 3 times. Now it's like, oh, it's going to happen every single time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He watched Happy for years, so.
Yeah. So we shall see. NHL playoffs. I kind of now don't know. I mean, the Avalanche up 2-0 in the Stanley Cup final on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
1.
No. Let me finish. Up 2-0. And then last night happened. I guess really we're not going to know probably. I mean, game 4, if this thing's 2-2, because the Lightning looked unbeatable last night. At home. If this thing goes 2-2, I mean, I think the Avalanche felt pretty good about themselves after the first 2 games. Because overtime, game 1, right? And then win game 2. You're up 2-0 where you want to be, but then you go back to Tampa, and if you get blown out back-to-back games, I don't know. I wondered about what's the psyche of the Avalanche going to be. Do you think any of that's being questioned now, Christian, for Colorado?
No. They lost 1 game on the road after flying from the high altitudes to the low altitudes, normal altitudes.
Mile low.
Yeah, there you go. But no, I don't think so. I think the Avs know how good they are. And ultimately they get a game 7 in their building if it comes to that. But I think they end up winning this thing quicker than I originally thought. I think they probably win game 4 and wrap it up in 5.
We'll see. I worry about a little bit of the tenseness, because now the pressure's on Colorado to win game 4 big time. Because I think if it's 2-2, the series goes 7 games. I think you're right. If Colorado finds a way to win game 4, it's wrapped up in 5. You're going to go back to Colorado where they blow doors. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. When is
that'll be tomorrow night.
Stanley Cup Finals? Game 4 is tomorrow at 8. Game 5 is Friday. Game 6. So this series could be wrapped up by time we take to the air.
On to baseball.
Next. I was gonna say, Christian, though we don't have, baseball is gonna have to be a topic, but there's plenty of other things that we can discuss. The Tour de France is coming up. We can talk about the Tour de France. There's always golf. There's always tennis. I think, don't we have a horse race coming up? When's the Preakness?
If I knew, I'd tell you, but there's a reason I don't know. Because until it happens, I don't really care.
I know the Preakness already happened. Which is it? The Belmont Stakes? Is that the one that hasn't happened yet?
I might be talking about Nate Diaz and Jake Paul if not for baseball. In
I know
December.
Belmont
However,
Stakes already happened.
don't
Whatever.
look now, but the Boston Red Sox are 37-31, which if you asked me 20 games ago, or about maybe 20 to 30 days ago, if they'd have 37 wins at this stage, I'd said, hell no. But here they are.
I don't think we're gonna have to talk about baseball all that long, Christian. I think the NBA offseason stuff, NFL training camp is around the corner, believe it or not. So I think you're gonna get to avoid having to talk a lot of baseball. But you just mentioned it, 37-31. What are your baseball takes at present moment, outside of being shocked that the Red Sox have actually won some games, even though I don't think that they're going anywhere.
You never do. But I would say
I don't.
I have not watched a ton of baseball because I've been into the finals of the NBA and the NHL. And once those are wrapped up, I'll give you some baseball takes. Until then, I follow the Red Sox, and that's about it.
Yeah, they're technically in the playoffs because it's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where's the playoff standings here? This is what I hate. Like, you can't even order this stuff. I'm not even going to try and figure it out. That's the theme for baseball. I'm not even going to try and figure it out.
They are 3 games back of the second wild card.
3 games back of the second wild card. Because how many teams are they taking? Isn't it 7 teams this year? So is it 3 division winners and
2 wild card, 3 wild card.
This is what I'm saying. Who knows? This is case in point.
Well, good thing the Celtics brought us to this point because luckily we only have like 2 months until football.
Okay, here we go. Toronto is a game and a half up on the Guardians and the Red Sox for a wild card spot. It looks like there's 3 wild cards. And then 3 division winners. So maybe it's only 6 teams. I don't know.
I'll see you in the postseason.
We'll find. You know what? We'll just find out when they announce. Let me see. Postseason teams number ? 12 teams, so 6. So 3 division winners, 3 wild card. That's it. Just 3 wild.
Exciting.
That was exciting. So your Boston Red Sox, who are 13 and a half games out of first place in the American League East, are right now in the playoffs. A half game up on the Tampa Bay Rays, 3.5 games up on the Chicago White Sox. I just think that's gross. I mean, maybe it'll be good for baseball to have more teams. Teams won't tank because there's the teams that just want revenue, so they'll be like, well, we can get close enough. Kind of like what the play-in has done for the NBA. I think there's been less out-and-out tanking because playoff revenue, teams want it. A chance to win one game and then we get a playoff series? Sure, why not? So some of these more middling bottom teams have kind of gone all in later in seasons. So maybe this helps baseball as a whole. But like now with 6 teams, if the Red Sox we made the playoffs, it's not an accomplishment. I'm sorry. If you would have been 20 spots out of a wild card in what had been baseball for 80 something years, and now you're going to tout we made the playoffs. I'm sorry. No, you didn't. If you're the 6th team in the league, in your conference, and you get blown out in a wild card playoff game, I'm sorry, you did not make the playoffs. You qualify to be in a sacrificial game. That's what you did, in my opinion.
Strong take.
It is a strong take.
I think technically, if you make the playoffs,
you make the playoffs.
Technically, you make the playoffs.
Well, we'll see how you feel. Christian, when the Red Sox are getting their doors blown off in a wild card game in September, will you be feeling well, made the playoffs? What a success this year was.
Yep. I think the Red Sox should win a playoff series.
Should they? Meh. Could they? Will they? No.
That's what you said last year.
It is what I said last year. At this time, I don't know if I see that same sort of turnaround coming for them this year.
We are in the midst of it, so strap yourself in. Strap yourself to that leather chair you got.
Here comes the turnaround. Whee! Whee! Good thing I fixed the XLR cable,
And
Christian.
you
You would have
just
gotten a
broke it again.
tornado storm there.
Yeah. And now that it's broken again, you can order another one.
I ordered two, so
Oh, you're good then.
yeah, I came prepared for when one broke. And,
Much like the wild card winner, you can just send that thing right off.
I can. Oh, boy. All right. So that's going to do it for this edition of the show. I feel like we could probably still go down a deep rabbit hole with this NBA offseason stuff. So I guess we'll see how the draft plays out this Thursday and then talk about Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA draft and offseason on Monday. So until then, thank you everybody for joining and listening with us here tonight. We are live every Monday or Tuesday. You got to stick to the social medias or subscribe to never miss a show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. And if you can't catch us live, you can always catch us as a podcast through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Andrew Pizzelli. He's Christian Lauber. Have a good night, everybody.
See you later.